Let's review the different types of forces that act on objects. The first force we'll review is gravity. Gravity is the force that pulls objects down. Watch what happens when the ball of clay is let go. Obviously, it drops down. The ball of clay falls because gravity is the force that pulls it downward. The second force you should know is friction. Friction is the force that makes it hard for you to move heavy objects. Friction acts in the opposite direction of motion. It is the force that slows down moving objects. Let's take a look at friction in action. Pushing a 25-pound weight on ice is easy, but pushing that same 25-pound weight on a rougher surface, like carpet, is more difficult. This is because the friction between the weight and ice is much less than the friction between the weight and the carpet. Remember, friction acts in the opposite direction of motion. Whenever an object is moving in one direction, friction is acting in the opposite direction. The last two forces you should be able to identify are the elastic forces of tension and compression. Think of tension as a pulling force and compression as a pushing force. To illustrate the elastic force of tension, take a look at this yo-yo hanging from a string. Gravity is the force that pulls the yo-yo down, but another force acts in the opposite direction to pull up the yo-yo. This is the elastic force of tension in the string. Imagine the molecules in the string are stretching like a spring. They stretch just enough to provide the upward bouncing force needed to pull up the yo-yo. Here is an example of the elastic force of compression in action. This book is resting on a table. Gravity is the force that pulls the book down, but another force acts in the opposite direction to push the book up. This is the elastic force of compression provided by the table. Take a look at these three springs. Watch what happens when a book is placed on top of them. They compact and provide an upward force to hold up the book. Now imagine the molecules in the table are compacting like the spring. The molecules in the table compact just enough to provide the upward bouncing force needed to hold up the book. So remember, the forces you should be able to identify are gravity, friction, and the elastic forces of tension and compression.